Okay, so here's something most business owners have never had: a real outside perspective on their own operation. And before you say, I've gotten feedback before, that's not what I mean. I mean a structured, honest look at your business from someone who is not inside it every day. Someone who can see the blind spots you have stopped noticing because they became part of the background. That kind of perspective has always existed. It's just never been accessible without writing a big check. And we're about to change that. So let's get into it. A formal business audit from a consultant or advisor can run thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands. It takes weeks, involves interviews and documents, and requires a level of access and process that most small businesses have never been through. So most small businesses owners just skip it. They operate on experience, gut feel, and the occasional conversation with someone they trust. And that works until something obvious is hiding in plain sight and nobody is in a position to name it. That's the gap this demo is designed to address. Here's the thing about being inside a business every day: you get really good at running it, and you also get really close to it. Those two things happen at the same time. The patterns that would jump out immediately to an outside set of eyes become invisible to you because you've adapted around them. The strengths you've built become so normal that you stop counting them. The risks that have been sitting in the corner for 2 years become part of the furniture. Structured outside perspective is valuable precisely because of that distance. The question is whether AI can create something useful that approximates it. And the honest answer is it can get you partway there. Let me show you what partway there looks like, because it's more useful than you might expect. Before we run the demo, I want to set expectations clearly because this one matters. What we're about to build is a starting point, a structured first pass based on how you describe your business in plain language. It's not a replacement for a real advisor, and it would be doing you a disservice to position it as one. A real advisor brings market knowledge, industry experience, relationship context, and judgment that comes from years of pattern recognition. That's not what a paragraph can unlock. What a paragraph can unlock is a useful first look, and a surprisingly honest one. That second part is where this demo gets interesting. So here's the setup. We're going to write a plain description of a business, not a polished executive summary, not a pitch, just how an owner would describe their operation if you sat down with them and asked them to walk you through it. Then we're going to paste that into Claude with a carefully built prompt and watch what comes back. The business we're using for this demo is a residential cleaning company, 6 years in operation, 4 employees, about 60 recurring clients. Revenue has been flat for the last 2 years. The owner handles all the scheduling and client communication personally. One paragraph, and that's the whole input. The prompt is going to do two things that most people would not think to do, and both of them shape the output significantly. The first is a constraint on advice. Claude is told to identify and analyze, but to hold back from offering solutions. This is important. Without that instruction, Claude will immediately start recommending things. And generic recommendations are not what we want here. We want an honest diagnostic grounded in what was actually shared. The second instruction is the one that makes this demo worth watching. Claude is asked to explicitly name what it cannot know from a text description alone. 5 things a real outside advisor would need to uncover that a paragraph cannot reveal. And that single instruction produces the most valuable part of the entire output. I'm going to show you what I mean. All right, here we go. Here's the system prompt that we're going to be using. You are a business audit assistant. A business owner has given you a plain description of their business. Your job is to return a structured audit in exactly 4 sections. Section 1, strengths. What is working based on what they have described? Be specific to what they told you, not generic praise. Section 2, gaps, where the operation has visible holes, inconsistencies, or underdeveloped areas based on their description. Name them plainly. Section 3, risks, what could hurt this business if left unaddressed? Draw only from what they shared, not from assumptions about their industry. And Section 4, questions you cannot answer. List 5 things a real outside advisor would need to know that you don't have access to. Be specific about and honest about the limits of what a text description can reveal. Don't offer solutions. Do not give advice. Do not add encouragement. Return the 4 sections only. Let's go ahead and give Claude those instructions. And it's ready. So here is the user input we're going to use for this one. I run a residential cleaning company in a mid-sized city. I have 4 employees and about 60 recurring clients. Most of my business comes from word of mouth. I handle all the scheduling and customer communication myself. I've been doing this for 6 years, and the revenue has been pretty flat for the last 2. Let's see what output we get from this. Section 1, the strength. 60 recurrent clients, stable and predictable revenue, 6 years of operation, survive the early failure window. Word of mouth suggests clients are satisfied. 4 employees means that we've been able to hire and retain staff. For the gaps, all scheduling and customer communication runs through one person, the owner, with no described system, backup, or delegation. No described acquisition strategy beyond passive word of mouth. It's not repeatable or controllable. Revenue's been flat with no analysis of why. No mention of pricing review, upsales, or a service tier. No described process for onboarding and offboarding or replacing clients. For the risks, this is pretty self-explanatory, but the owner is a single point of failure for all the scheduling and communication. The flat revenue, while costs have likely increased, mean that your margins are getting lower. Dependence on word of mouth is tied entirely to your existing client satisfaction. And here's the part that we really need to dig into is section 4. Questions you cannot answer. What are the actual financials? Revenue, expenses, and net margin. And how have they moved over the 2 flat years? What is the employee situation? Hours, pay, turnover history, and whether there are any risks of leaving. What is the client churn rate? And how many new clients are needed each month just to maintain the current 60? What does the owner's weekly time load look like, and how close are they to a capacity ceiling? Why has the revenue been flat? Is it lost clients being replaced, pricing that hasn't changed, or something else? So the first 2 sections did exactly what the prompt asked. Specific observations drawn from the description with no advice attached. That restraint is what makes the output useful. If Claude had immediately pivoted to recommending a CRM or suggesting the owner hire a scheduler, you would have gotten a list of generic suggestions that could apply to almost any surface business. Instead, you got a read of this business based on what this description revealed. The strength section is not flattery, it's an honest accounting of what the description made visible. The gaps section is not a criticism. It's what a thoughtful outside reader would notice after one read through. That's actually a pretty good approximation of what a first advisory conversation looks like. The risk section is where the output gets a little more uncomfortable, but in a useful way. The owner dependency risk is not subtle. One person is handling all scheduling and all client communication for a 60 client operation. If that person is unavailable for any reason, there is no documented process to fall back on. That's a real fragility, and it showed up clearly because the description made it visible. The pipeline risk is the same pattern from a different angle. Word of mouth is a genuine strength. It signals quality. But it also means growth is largely outside the owner's control because there's no mentioned mechanism for generating new clients intentionally. Neither of these required Claude to know anything about the cleaning industry. Both of them came directly from what one paragraph revealed. All right, here's the part I want you to pay attention to. Claude listed 5 things it could not know, and I would argue that list is more valuable than everything that came before it. Think about the last time an advisor, a consultant, a coach, anyone opened a conversation by naming the limits of what they could see. It doesn't happen often. Most advisors project confidence because that's what clients are paying for. Claude did the opposite. It named employee satisfaction and retention, local competitive dynamics, actual client churn rate, the owner's real capacity ceiling, whether the flat revenue reflects a deliberate choice or a hard limit the business keeps running into. None of that is visible in a paragraph. Claude said so directly without being asked to soften it. That honestly reframes the entire output. You're not reading a finished analysis. You're reading a map of what still needs to be explored, and that is genuinely useful. A paragraph can only tell you what the words reveal. Everything underneath it, the culture, the relationships, the history, the things the owner knows intuitively but never wrote down, none of that made it into the description. What showed up in that fourth section is exactly what a real outside advisor spends the first several conversations trying to surface. The questions that do not appear in any document but shape everything about how the business actually operates. That's an honest edge of what this tool can do. And knowing where that edge is makes the whole output more trustworthy, not less. So here's where you come in. The audit gave you a structured first look. It named what was visible, flagged what was fragile, and told you openly what it could not see. That's a better starting point than most small business owners have ever had, and it took about 30 seconds to generate. But the questions in that fourth section require real answers. And real answers require someone who knows your market, has looked at your actual numbers, understands your team, and can ask the follow up questions that matter. That part has always required a human. What AI did here is help you arrive at that conversation better prepared, with a clearer picture of where the gaps are and sharper questions ready to go. You can do exactly what you just watched. One paragraph about your business, the system prompt from this video. Paste it in and read what comes back. Pay close attention to that fourth section. The questions Claude cannot answer are the ones worth sitting with. Some of them you already know the answers to. Some of them will make you stop and think for a minute. Either way, you now have a structured first look at your own business that most small business owners have never had access to before. That's what this demo is, a starting point. Fast, accessible, and built from your own words. What you do with it is up to you. If you found this video useful, subscribe. We put out new capability demos every week, and the whole series is built for business owners who want to understand what AI can actually do, with live demos and prompts you can use immediately. If you want to take this further for your own business, reach out to us at Eau Claire AI. We work with businesses that want to figure out where AI genuinely fits and where it doesn't. You can find us at eauclaireai.com. Try the prompt, see what comes back. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.